If we look at what's hijacking by standard means, law enforcement means, intelligence, government means, the definition simply that says that example of hijacking is that an illegal or unauthorized or unlawful seizure of an airplane, boat, building, group of people, or one person, an office, whatever it is. It can be in transit, it can be stationary. An example we see in the society is obviously terrorists seizing airplanes, doing terrorist acts, blowing themselves up. Criminals seizing a car with a pregnant woman in it and running away from the police where a helicopter follows, or whatever it is. It could be a bus that's being hijacked. Anything that has to do with hijacking obviously is always associated with a terrorist act or criminal act and all these things. And we know that hijackings, psychologically and mentally, always affects people very, very badly. Differently too, but it's always a bad feeling of extreme fear, post-shock, anxiety, disbelief, confusion, many, many different things. And their lives are never really going to be the same. No way, never going to be the same. I worked enough people that are war victims, PTSD, and I understand their lives are never the same. Could be a simple victim of a carjacking to survival of a war and whatnot. And many of the people that do survive, which is a great thing to hear, they write books and their stories and they say, yeah, their lives are never the same. We have PTSD, bad relationships, depressions, and often some of these humans end up committing suicide, which is a bad thing. Now, the main topic I desire to talk about, which I'm asked all the time and I also observe all the time, that's hijacking in the spiritual community. It's a very, very large problem in the spiritual community today, and no one talks about it, of course. And in the channeling community too, absolutely. Ufology community too, spiritual hijacking, hijacked humans, hijacked channelers, hijacked psychics, hijacked healers, so many different things, but 1,000,000% fact. And often this hijacking continues and it lingers down onto the human that's working with these hijacked individuals. Parasites, that's just how they work. On different levels, yes, but it's exactly how they work. It's what they do, it's what they're good at. It's like cancer. Spreads fast. But by the time humans figure out this spiritual hijacking, attachments, parasites, and these things, they're at that borderline of no point of return due to the expertise of the hijackers, parasites, malevolent beings, malevolent consciousnesses. They're not even physical. And yeah, they absolutely have full control of that human, of his or her body, bodily functions, even appetite, even sexual desires, even masturbation, even porn watching, addictions, mind, thought process, all of it. But the biggest part, or two parts, biggest part first and foremost, is that the hijacked human, the hijacked person, is having their thoughts stolen and manipulated with. The second is the agenda itself. It's the disconnecting that human from his higher self. So higher self, aka soul, disconnection to the soul. And I've talked about this in the past. I've talked about a lot of these frauds and scams in my early days when I got into the channeling, when I started pairing up with reptilian beings who showed me the truth, who showed me how to look for this, how to detect it. And a lot of these beings are the galactic federations, the galactic councils, always ending in the term light. Anytime we hear a federation, every time we hear a council of anything, it's always term light is added to the very, very end. It has a word light in it, to make humans feel safe and comfortable, but fooled. That's the problem. Humans are connecting to these federations, don't even know who they're talking to. I've been informed, and I've shared a statistic before, 71 to 75% of all channelers today, three things are happening. Either they're hijacked to a certain degree, they have no idea who they're connecting to telepathically, or they're just making it up. The other 30 are just, 25, 30%, they're great channelers, absolutely. I know plenty of them, and I'm honored to know them. But these humans, the first category of the 71 to 75%, they've never perfected grounding yet, and they're in the channeling industry. They've skipped so many different processes, including soul integration. That's the problem. The soul integration is a major issue. It's not done by a lot of different people. So it's very easy to hijack energetically these individuals, or insert avatars, or place implants, trackers. And these individuals sometimes appear to have mental health issues, which is true. It's quite evident. Quite evident for me personally and for my own counterparts. And I've investigated enough humans, and I'll never share their names publicly. I'm not about that, but I definitely was extremely curious to see, to examine their energy, examine who they're connecting to. What is the energy coming in and energy leaving? Who you're talking to? What beings you're connecting to? And I have my own guidelines to assess things, and by looking at a human at their face value is one thing. But the moment I suspect either mental illness or deception, of course I'm going to look into it. I'm quite curious to find out. And often, very, very often, if not all times, there's parasitic attachments. And one of the things I do personally, execute my own, is an energy assessment. I peek into this person's, if I'm directly involved with them or not, I peek into their 4th density, I peek into their 3.9 density layer. Who runs this human? Who are they talking to? Who feeds off of this human? Where are they getting the information from? Who they're talking to? What collective, race, density, planet, star system? What's their connection to the oversoul? What's their connection to the earth? And how exactly did this human connect to this entity, and for how long? Or if there's an attachment, what attachment is it? If there's an implant, who installed it? And who's benefiting from it? And these assessments and verifications to me personally matter. They are very important to me. I just don't want to be hijacked. Simple as that. And I don't want to waste my time and energy co-creating with humans that are hijacked. Time flies by fast in this incarnation. So any business I do directly or indirectly, of course, I'm going to look into all I need to look into to make sure that my time is worth and that the person has authenticity. These things are very relevant to me, they're very valid, and from my perspective, investigation of an individual who even, let's say, attempts to project 4th density, any state within the 4th density, projection of their thoughts, energy, hate or love, appreciation or disrespect, all these things I desire to see where it is coming from. Whether they project with their astral body or just their thoughts, little blocks and seared checkpoints and whatnot, but the point is to investigate. I think it's very important for people in this industry who are non-speakers, extremely important to start building these skills. So if your spiritual teachers aren't teaching you these things, you got wrong spiritual teachers. Absolutely. And you should do your due diligence on which spiritual teachers you're working with. Humans with honor is number one, with proper intent, with respect. Humans who have dignity, humans that are in the service to others, to help others. And I've always seen these individuals who aren't aware that they're hijacked as just weak humans. It's unknown to them, they have no idea. And when you try to help someone, and I've tried to help it a few times, they don't listen. The emotions get in the way, the ego gets in the way and so forth. But the attachments are ruining their life. It slows down their life, makes their life weaker, much more annoying, miserable with a large percentage of annoyance, bitterness, energy loss, loss of sexuality, energy drop, loss of appetite, and tremendous amount of rage and anger. Humans change overnight. And in my perspective, of course this isn't fair. I'm a proud human, of course. How can anyone say this is fair? No outside of our own density, anyone should be interfering with us, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. The 3D world we live in, absolutely, we're a target, which is like, this is like a nature. Any hunter can come here and hunt. Anyone above our density can come here and hunt. Over 600 races are involved with us humans, physical races. Anyone can come here, even deceased humans. I've done a video on deceased humans. They harass humans more than any extraterrestrial, than any AI, than any parasite. Deceased humans are a big problem. Angry deceased humans. I've done this video about the deceased humans and shared some of my own experiences with them. They play tricks, but I play bigger tricks. So it's fun to encounter and see them in shock. I've done videos on the abductions. I've done videos on avatar insertions. So I do suggest to the individuals that are interested to properly grow to not just watch my videos. I don't have a lot of videos. I'm not some video content maker, but it's to truly grow outward properly and not be fooled by illusions in the industry and fairy tales and external saviors. Grow outward properly. Build your own mental warfare in these things. And sometimes you'll interact with beings that are non-physical here on the earth that are benevolent too. Pharaoh keys and elementals. Angelic beings, yeah, of course, but sometimes they're just malevolent. But that's the thing about universe, it's duality, everything exists. And in the industry, there's phenomenal speakers, but there's just some parasitic speakers, absolutely, with their own attachments, standing right there beside them, literally standing 2 feet away from them when they're speaking on camera, in their webcams and videos, and even on stage, especially when channelers I see pretend to channel, blink their eyes 900 times as downloads are coming. They have their attachments right there too, and it's just so sad. I mean, I personally don't intervene. It's not my job. But pushing any deceptive agendas onto humans to make money is just pathetic. There's no honor in that. They're not a prideful human. And often a lot of parasitic entities that at least I come across pretend, truly pretend that they are a very glorified, valuable galactic figure, galactic federation figure, religious figure, prophet type of figure, archangel type of figure, to allow the human to perceive them that way. So that this fake entity, this parasitic entity, can blind a human into thinking they're so benevolent and loving and caring and compassionate, to give it the energy, give it that worshiping energy. And this human, I don't blame him in a way, because they'll pass a polygraph test saying, no, definitely, I know what I saw. It was an angel, it was this and that. No, it wasn't. So worshiping external saviors, religious saviors, I think that's one of the programs humans must uninstall, the belief system. Programming and conditioning embedded inside of them. I know for a fact, I swear on my character, I know for a fact, for verified information, multiple ways, no external saviors are ever coming. No one's coming back. No one's landing their ship here, mass landing, open disclosure, federations and collectives, armies of those blonde hair, blonde eyes, humanoids coming here after clearing out those evil reptilian tunnels. That's a psyop. These are energy harvesting schemes. You're worshiping something that doesn't exist. And humans constantly wish to be saved and escape reality instead of taking care of the business they need to do here in this incarnation, including healing, including karmas, and all these things. So waiting for religious figures to come back, it's just nonsense. But these things occur daily, unfortunately. And I don't judge these humans. I say this with neutrality. Save yourself now. Stay away from these fear-mongering sentences. Save yourself now. No, listen, no one's coming, guys. These are illusions, false hopes, hoaxes and scams by grifters who are so afraid in life, so much mental illness, that they have this temporary idea that they're going to be a next prophet. They're blind, worse than a cataract can blind someone. But one of the most common hijackings I see is an average human, regular good human, who starts to think that just nowhere, out of nowhere, 7 days out of 7 days out of the week, they're being raped and selectively manipulated, abducted, and gangbanged and all these things. Or they have insects, massive insects coming out of their ears, noses, penises, anuses, mouths, all these visual disturbing things. Or their belly buttons or vaginas and all these things. Or they think that Satan is punishing them by sending Satan's sons, like an army, a little mini Satans running around. Or like some demons with horns are sitting outside the window watching you go to bed, or watching you meditate, watching you brush your teeth, or watching you have sex with your wife, and all these things. Or you're being harassed by an army of reptilians who are all standing there almost like getting themselves hard and ready with a bottle of lubrication in their hand because they want to have anal sex with you. These things are not real. These things is mental illness. And I say this with respect. Mental illness is a serious issue in our society. This is not real. These are fear concepts. These are hijacking tools and methods and tricks by technology, yes, but also by advanced type of beings who have enough consciousness to penetrate a human consciousness and then manipulate him by scanning to see what he's most afraid of. Oh, you're afraid of a centipede insect? That's what they're going to appear as. These are fourth density deadbeat. These are fourth density parasite. These are some projections, but they're weak. They're powerless. They're expert manipulators. They always come scare and frighten a human and all these things. In reality, it's not real. Plain and simple, it's not real. The dream scenario, not real. It's an avatar. These beings run around your living room with horns, call themselves little Satans and Lucifers and demons. That shit is not real. Not real in any way, shape, or form. And often these are simulations. This is another conversation. Not avatar. This is a simulation. Insertions. The pulls. There's a term. There's many different terms. I've been in some avatars myself. I even talked about one publicly. I was attacked by 12 real shape-shifting reptilians inside of an avatar, which was a hotel room in Las Vegas. One of the most serious hijackings I've seen in this industry. It's an industry person, underground industry person, and he reached out for some help, and I spoke to this person on a Zoom call. I remember it was a Zoom software. Yeah, it was a Zoom. It was not a StreamYard. It was Zoom. And he sent me a link. I logged on to the laptop. Very polite gentleman, extremely respectful. Such a kind man, I would say. Great principles. Someone brought him up really right. And he said that he's constantly being manipulated and that aliens are speaking through him and he's being sexually molested by these beings. And they're preventing him to go to work. They're preventing him to leave his house, go get groceries. They're making him fast. They're making him starve. They're making him do physical exercise around the house, like physical stuff, but he hasn't eaten in days. And he talked to me, literally, I watched this on Zoom call. I watched him speak an alien language that has baffled me. And his body was just shaking and controlled by these peer parasites, completely hijacked human. This was not mental illness, there's a difference. And I saw these entities right through the lens of the third eye. I saw these entities. These were not angels, as he stated. These weren't some star beings. These weren't some benevolent saviors. No. And they made a statement, and I obviously didn't speak their language, so I had to verify it with my own counterparts to get a proper translation. What did they mean? And yeah, I got a proper translation. I got their energy. I understand how he attracted these parasites. How did they even attach themselves to him? Does he even know? Is he aware? Does he feel anything? What does he see when they talk to him? Does he trust them? How much is, like, I looked into all this and I disagree with these beings, what they're doing to this innocent man. But I did the right thing. I always try to do the right thing, and I told the human what I found out. It was very shocking. Emotionally, he didn't handle it. And he didn't listen. I told him what to do. He didn't listen. And his troubles continued because we still sort of cross paths from time to time on Instagram and social media. And YouTube puts a lot of videos out, and yeah, he didn't listen. He still has this very same attachment. It's unbelievable when someone doesn't listen and you're trying to help someone. But because he's given it its own free will and acceptance that allows these beings to continue to harass them and feed off of them, they have no right to leave. They have no reason to leave. If he was to just connect back to his lower fractal consciousness, higher self, literally 3 layers combined, integrated together, this all would have been over. All would have been over because they wouldn't have a right to stay. All he had to do is do that and express a suspicion or an issue or a desire to disconnect from these beings or any beings or parasites in this case. These beings would have been cut off immediately. When I say immediately, I mean instantly, that very second. Upon inquiry, at that second. It's just how that works. The problem is it would have cut off his ability to be psychic. So his psychic ability would have stopped. Because of the psychic awareness and because of the natural psychic abilities that this human possessed, it prevented much of his own consciousness that was higher in vibration to come through, because they gave him a temporary psychic ability, making him think that his soul gave it to him. So they tricked him. And if they would have disappeared, all of his channeling abilities would have disappeared. So he had this connection, this deep desire to channel. And he said, no matter what, I'm going to channel. And his ego kicked in. He had no idea how to integrate any soul layers. He had nothing to do with any chakra resistances, clearing of blockages, nothing. Just, I want to channel and that's it. And I do remember 9 and 13. So 9 beings out of 13 were the parasites that he was ever connecting to. So the other 4, so 13 minus 9 is 4, the other 4 beings that he was connecting to were benevolent. It's just that their consciousness couldn't penetrate telepathically to this human because he was preoccupied with these 9. And his soul, his higher fractal, absolutely couldn't even insert one word of edgewise, one word into this human's mind. And I remember really, anytime I was telling him, buddy, anytime any entity tells you they're benevolent, loving beings of light, counsel of something, the moment you hear the word counsel, run away. No 5th, 6th, 7th, then 10th density counsel is going to go and look for one human. It's not how it works. There's buffers in between. There's communication specialists. It's not how it works. No counsel go and talks to human. What human thinks some counsel's talking to them? Council of elders are elders for a reason. Councils don't talk to humans. They have a communication officer who talks to a human. But soul connection is number 1. Integrated soul layers is critical. layers between fourth, fifth, and sixth density, then all the sublayers in between must be integrated. This is why I teach a 2-month-long channeling course, not a 2-hour on a Saturday, 3-hour on a Sunday. No, a 2-month-long, very complex, rigorous course. I remember another example I shared, 2022 LA Conscious Expo, wonderful expo. I'll be there in 2024, booth 155. And I went there this year and last year. It was a great show. And we were at a table. I was at a table with a friend of mine named Steve, and he had a booth there. His wife had a booth there. She's an author of a book. And a gentleman comes, an older gentleman, spiritual type of guy, and he had all these different rings on, and a big, huge, massive, fat lion gold ring. Real or not, I'm not sure. Massive lion. And he had these straps on his shirt, so right here, they appear to be crocodile type of skin. So I just naturally said, I was like, hey man, what's the skin represent? He's like, I'm here to hunt some reptilians. I said, okay, all right. So I had to engage in the conversation with this genius. And then we had a conversation. I told him who I am and told him what I do. I told him the names of beings I'm connected to. So in fear, immediately pulls up the little pendants, pendulums, and starts rotating around. He's got some crystals here, speaking alien language. His fingernails are all painted black. Some goth type of guy, spiritual guy. So 2 minutes into the conversation, I explained him a few things. Explained him what is a reptilian, who are the Alpha Draconians, and the immense power they hold. And I told him he's completely 100% hijacked because the beings that are standing next to you are not angels. And I told him, I said, buddy, like, humbly but firmly, dude, listen to me now. I'm going to explain to you a few things now that you're finished speaking. Now it's my turn to speak because we're professionals. I'll listen to you, you listen to me. I'm going to tell you some things. Listen to me very fucking carefully now. The Draconians you came here to kill, the reptilians you came here to kill, I can show you for a moment that they stand next to me in an integrated consciousness way, not in a physical way that you think your beings are standing next to you. And we explained him several things. We engaged in a conversation, and I explained him how mental warfare even works. And after being embarrassed with his clownish conversation in front of this entire booth, a 10-foot booth at this beautiful show that we were at in LA, he just took off in his hunt on reptilians, I guess. And there's another guy that's visiting shows, probably harassing innocent people, and he's over there hunting reptilians, not realizing the gray shadow beings were right beside him, feeding off of him. They were actually feeding off of his spinal cord, right behind him, and he didn't know that. And I know enough how this stuff works. I mean, I've met now 39 draconian beings from 9 different groups, including Demon Guy and Kalask. These beings probably would have shaken their head at this guy. In Contact in the Desert Expo, 2018, 2019, same thing. A few people there I saw too, just innocent people. In LA, another LA incident was I was in Venice Beach, walking to the Venice Boulevard, and it was an exchange of energies between me and a thug. Just a petty criminal. No one's just a piece of shit there, and the entity came out of him, and they obviously realized the integrated consciousness that represented me or that I represent, and there was no attack, there was no issues. I was not attacked or harmed in any way, but he ended up being very confused by walking away as his inner masters made sure that he harassed somebody else. But it's very sad to see parasitic beings in all forms attach themselves to humans. There was another example I can share. I won't share her name. I'll never share names. I'm not into the name embarrassing bit. A very extremely known speaker right now in the industry from the United States. And she's known to make a lot of different false claims that curing cancer over a laptop, or taking your consciousness to a Galactic Federation medbed to give you God technology, Archangel Michael technology, source technology, all these things, unrealistic and fraudulent promises and so on. And total bullshit, obviously, and fakeness to make money and to take advantage of innocent people. And what I noticed in the astral state, that she attempted to project a couple of times. Obviously, she was blocked, so her astral body was blocked. And then the technology that I was using is to be able to harvest or take your own thoughts and create what's called a simulation in order to be able to see what is it that you're thinking about, whether it's hate, love, disrespect, or respect, admiration, or just pure rage towards me. So when I was observing her own thoughts in a form of an avatar simulation, I was able to see her own energy. But when I assessed her own energy in a much closer way, I was able to see a tremendous amount of parasites and beings that are just malevolent. So this is someone working every day doing readings. This means that all of her clients are not aware of this. So they're trusting these human beings, that these entities are feeding off of the clients. And then the clients start having their own nightmares, and the clients start having their own energy drop, physical health drop, and changes in that aspect too. So this is how hijacking works. It's like cancer, it spreads very fast. Another story I'll share with another gentleman he was a gentleman, now he's just a guy, but in the industry. It was a Telegram channel he ran back in 2020, I think. And I'll never share his name, but he's a Yahyel channeler in the United States. He's done even interviews on Gaia TV, so very good speaker at that time, very nice guy. And he recreated this Telegram group, and he asked me to speak and do a presentation. It was about 400 or 500 humans, maybe 600 people. And it was about extraterrestrial contact and channeling and these kind of things. So I said, sure. And I remember I was traveling. I'll never forget this. I was traveling, I was in Montenegro, I think, and North Croatia, at one of the hotels, and I was on my balcony, and I logged onto this Telegram group, and I was speaking to people and taking a lot of questions. And I still have this conversation saved. It was a beautiful conversation with great people in the group. Shortly after, I looked at a lot of different energy assessments of him, and I just disliked him. So I sort of walked away from him. He kind of walked away from me. And he was connected to the Sasani and Yahyel beings at that time. And then he left the industry instantly one night to become a Christian, to follow Jesus, to live off grid in a mountain, let his hair and beard go. He met a girlfriend. She was following Jesus, he was following Jesus, and all these things. And he started to put a lot of different things on his Facebook about attracting new members to this cult that he was creating. And he denounced all that has to do with extraterrestrials. Like, this is a guy that's been in the industry for 10 years. And just a Thursday night or Friday, boom, ETs are evil, ETs are demons, angels are fake, angels are demons, everything is bad, everything is evil, everything is demonic, everything. Jesus is the way, he says. And I remember many channelers, we were all on each other's Facebook, we were just all blown away at, what did someone hijack his Facebook account, or is this truly him speaking? No, it was really truly him speaking. So I wondered, why would someone with such great reputation radically change overnight, 180 degrees? This change was literally overnight. And my suspicions were absolutely correct. Of course I tapped into his energy, of course I'm projecting to him to see what's going on. And yeah, he got heavily hijacked by beings who were parasites. And he did encounter one of these beings, and it scared the shit out of him. This was a very menacing parasite, and he got him very scared. And he realized at that moment, he was not channeling Yahyels, he was not channeling Sasanis, because he never followed the proper channeling protocol in the first place. So this scared him, and what he did, he went back to the roots. He went back to the default programming as a child. What? Christian, following Jesus, following Mary, or any other religion. Moved off grid, let his hair and beard go down, started wearing these long white gowns like Jesus is depicted in the Bible, or Jesus movies type of thing, the long white gowns. And he was recruiting new members, as in, come to our retreat, live here, so we can all pray, the rosary 3 times a day and all these things. And I think in conclusion with this guy, the only good thing that came out of this, I met a great gal, great friend of mine, Army from the United States. She also ran away from this false prophet, as a few other members, but many members joined the cult, and they kind of went to his whole thing. And I'm only sharing some of these examples not to ever disrespect anyone. I'll never share their names, but these are genuine, authentic stories of innocent humans or careless humans that get hijacked. I've obtained assessments for my own 4th, 5th, 6th density, mainly 4th. That's where everyone plays in the 4th, to be able to assess his soul, this gentleman's soul. And this type of hijacking was confirmed that it occurs with many humans, because they open up the gates and pathways of communication with higher dimensional beings without verification. They're not paying attention to who they're connecting to. They're not paying attention to the attendance on who these beings are, and their true appearance, and their true location, their true density state, their true planet, star system, population, council numbers, benevolent or malevolent. Now, Humans just want to channel and connect to anyone and everyone. That's the problem. So that's an issue. That's always been an issue. I understand it's exciting to channel and talk to ETs and EDs. Yes, absolutely. I'm mainly a reptilian channeler, so I understand. It is, to me, fascinating. And I'll do it for the rest of my life till I die. It's the greatest thing ever. I think it's the best high ever. Best aphrodisiac. Absolutely, it's the greatest. To learn so much galactic wisdom. Yes, I understand that, but people have to understand safety protocols must be taken into consideration, proper channeling, proper grounding, tremendous amount of soul work. Before you even get to the exchange of the consciousness, before you even get to the dragon breath part. So someone can appear as a Jesus in front of you tomorrow. Is a real Jesus? No, of course, that's not even his name. So you gotta be careful. I tell my clients, you gotta be careful who you connect to. This is where the entities come in like snakes and look for cracks in the human consciousness. The Swiss cheese has the holes, and that's where they penetrate. And in this case of this man, he had many, many cracks in his wall and in his consciousness as he spent his, in my assessment, entire career. Love light, unicorn, rainbow type of mindset. Everything this guy was like, love light, love light, love light, love light, love light, nothing. Was afraid of the dark. Anything that's dark, oh no, it's bad, it's evil, it's demonic, it's reptilian, oh, it's demonic. He didn't understand duality. So a sweet, loving, caring little guy ends up being now hijacked because he was not in charge of his consciousness. Humans must be in charge of their consciousness, of their free will. Developing trusts, bonds with high dimensional beings without knowing who they are, without knowing what they look like. It's ridiculous. That should never be done because problems will happen that are non-reversible. Like this man, completely hijacked, non-reversible. And I asked in relation to this man, was he really talking to Yael and Sasanis, the fourth density hybrid race in his past? The answer was yes, he was, but long time ago. But the change, when it occurred between him hanging out with parasitic beings, he just blindly trusted these parasitic beings. Hence I always say 75% of channelers today, three things: either they're making it up, they have no idea who they're talking to. Like I already covered this, I already mentioned this. There's great channelers with great telepathy, it's just that they have no idea who they're talking to. Oh, it's a Pleiadian. Well, Pleiadian reptilian or Pleiadian insectoid? Is it Pleiadian humanoid or Pleiadian Sasquatch? Pleiadian doesn't define a race. Pleiades is a region. So humans cannot be weak going into channeling. You must channel properly. There's a lot of parasites waiting out there. The moment a human crosses into that 4.0 state density, aka sleeps or naps, that's where they are lingering around. They're like bottom feeders. It's exactly what they do. Our industry, spiritual industry, ufology industry, a tremendous amount of wonderful, great authors and speakers, but just because they're wonderful authors doesn't mean they're pure. Some of them have consciousness equivalent to a squirrel. Yeah. Someone's like child, fourth density races. Their child can hijack this human. So just because individuals in the industry are putting up material or videos about 5D ascension or love light, unicorn rainbows and anchoring your light and the Ashtars are coming and all these things and GFL and all these things are coming, we cannot trust them. Not me personally, of course I don't trust them. I know that they don't know what they're talking about. Talking about humans, individuals that are going through their own awakening, must be very, very careful who you give your energy to. This is in fact where the actual cracks of armor for many humans happen. When these speakers are only interested in service for themselves or in service to themselves and not others, they pretend that they are someone to become someone's idol, to become a superstar. What they don't end up understanding is the moment you start changing your energy, parasitic beings find a crack in your consciousness and enter it. There's nothing your soul can do. So just because someone seems loving and then they end up being hijacked, they end up with what? No love at all at the end, no success at all, no mental warfare, no power, no strength, zero mental warfare power, equivalent to a squirrel. In summer of 22, right here in Toronto. I'm a business guy, I own a few businesses in Toronto. I remember one of my salesmen came with me that works for me. And the sales manager, he was on my left, this guy was on my right, and we went and seen a client. Very serious corporate client, about 60 staff, 60, 65 staff. So we went and see the director because the board of directors told us, yeah, your job's approved, proposal's approved, go speak to this person. She's a director of this facility. Perfect. So we're all dressed up, we go there, and three of us. So I'm in the center, my coworkers are on the left, the one on the right, and I'm doing all the talking. So we knock on the desk, on the door, the person sees us, she can tell she ignores purposely. I knocked again, she does the same thing. We out of respect, wait another 5 minutes, standing there like clowns. We knocked again, and she kind of says to one of her staff members, like, go see what these guys want, whatever, very unprofessionally. Whether she had a bad day or not, point is very unprofessional. She had no diplomacy of whatsoever, no professionalism, and very, very professionally. We say, as we're here from this company, we were sent by these three members of your board of directors. So the president, the vice president, the secretary, we have their name signatures. You probably got the email because I printed the email. Like, we were so cool with this girl, such professionalism we show, of course, as every other client we give it to. And she didn't have any of it. She didn't care. So as I stared at her eyes and I asked my counterpart, I said, who is this human? Who is this human connected to? And a demonic type of parasitic being, a male, came out of her, and he was hissing at me. So it was her face and the other entity's consciousness, so non-physical consciousness, sort of crisscrossing into one another. And this girl lost her shit. She snapped at us, called us rude, called us all these names, without even getting into it. And she kind of stormed out of the office. So I don't think this was a bad day. This wasn't something that, she had bad lunch. No, it was an entity that possessed this individual, and she was weak in life anyway. A weak human who hosted so much anger in herself due to her not becoming something big in life in the corporate world, not becoming successful, not becoming rich, having to go to work. We all work. Having to go to work, and that over time she became extremely depressed, and this rotted her from the inside, her consciousness. So to be clear, this entity that came out of her was not physical. She was physical. The entity was energetic, and it was literally feeding off of her spinal cord. Most of them do, that's why they're on the back. This was a very negative. I dislike using the word demonic. The demons are completely misunderstood, the word demons, but the negative type of parasitic that we would refer to in English as demonic, yeah, absolutely. So this was very sad to see that this individual wasn't aware. And it wasn't even me that made these descriptions. It was my own higher fractal describing exactly what happened. She reached, in exact words, she reached a maximum capacity of human bitterness in life within herself. And this was shown to me, what happened with her over a period of, let's say, last several years. So all the segments were shown to me. So the jealousy, dissatisfaction, all these things in life truly made her very bitter. And it created rage and anger towards everyone, dissatisfaction of everyone. And this really showed. So it was another experience for me to see that this is a person that's not in the spiritual industry, just a random individual. I've seen pieces of shit like this attached to innocent humans, and it's unfair. And it happens in the astral state the most. It happens when humans, the moment you open up and you say, I want to connect to this, that's what they're waiting. It's exactly what they're waiting. And no amount of galactic power, praying to Jesus or rosaries over your bed or crosses ain't going to help you. Archangels ain't coming here to help you. Got to be very careful. Some of these things are non-reversible. I'm often asked, and I appreciate people asking, of course, about their own problems with mental illness, but I can't help people there. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or people say I have an attachment of a satanic demon. I say, define me satanic and define me demon, and if you can, I'll help you. And they never do, because they're misunderstanding the two concepts. Two ancient concepts which are completely misunderstood. So they just refer to their programming and say Satan, demon, Lucifer, fallen angel, Nephilim, the giants, Anunnakis, Elohim. To most people, this is all demonic. The term Satan or demon is a misunderstanding and an old mistranslation. Term hell, okay, that's not a misunderstanding, that's just fake. Hell doesn't exist, it's made up. Constantine created Christianity. They had the entire hell thing completely made up. Another complaint that I always see, I very, very often see, is humans are in error. I'll say that. They're in an error. They're not understanding what's truly happening. They're confused. They're just not understanding what's happening. They don't understand what attack is real and which attack is fake. What's an avatar versus a real attack? What's a projection versus astral? Astral visit, someone visiting you in the astral body is different than a projection of that energy. Or a third thing, projection of their anger or their love. Two different things. So often humans develop mental illness on their own. And with that come drug addiction, porn addiction, sadistic tendencies, extreme psychopathic or suicidal tendencies. And what happens? Their own losses and shortcomings in life are following right after. This is one of the reasons where I know for a fact that most of the problems that are lingering around in the spiritual industry about I'm being raped, I'm being hijacked, insects are coming out of my nose and then into my mouth and out of my ears while I'm watching TV at home. No, this isn't real. This is just mental illness due to standard human weaknesses. Weaknesses of the mind, weaknesses of the heart, no mental warfare, no strength, no sovereignty, lack of courage, lack of bravery, insecurities, shyness, being submissive and passive in life and always afraid of everything, afraid of this, afraid of that. 300 phobias, list goes on. But also 2 unsafe practices of channeling. The list of fears and phobias with humans, you can print this on paper all day, we would run out of ink. Long list of fears that humans have. Humans are filled with fear, not to mention ancestral fear, which cannot be uninstalled. So it's very easy for a human being to be hijacked or harassed or manipulated, simply manipulated in the astral state. Parasitic attachments happen all the time. Yes, absolutely. They're extremely common. I was given a statistic even once by a reptilian race that's hybridized with human DNA. So they understand Earth quite well. And they stated that, not in a way of them picking on 100 people in the industry, but they said of the 100 people that you know of in the industry, somewhere in the vicinity of 40 to 50 have attachments. That's a bad statistic. That's a horrible statistics. I got another statistic where of every 100 humans that claim they're being raped by reptilians, abducted, constantly manipulated with by bugs and insectoids, 4 are telling the truth. 4. The rest, it's just mental illness. And I know for a fact, I've seen many of these humans, but they're weak-minded humans. They're just so engrossed with fear, so afraid of everything, that the fear itself becomes a blanket to that human, an umbrella and a blanket and a jacket and a hat to that human to wear constantly, because they feel safe that way. Fear blanket. Because they believe that without the fear that they will not be safe. So the fear somehow protects them. They feel protected by the fear. The fear occupies their daily lives. Their tasks become completely occupied and obsessed by fear. They're playing the victim in a way too, but they're occupied by fear. And the world around them, it's just all fear. Everyone's out there to get me. I don't judge them, but I see it's extremely childish. There are many specialists, professionals, doctors, psychologists out there, psychics, life coaches, therapists. Why whine on the internet playing a victim, blaming reptilians, when there are plenty of professionals in the mental health industry to see? Plenty of medications, plenty of pills, pharmaceutical pills to assist. It's funny, but always the ones who fear, they're constantly in fear, always play the victim. Say, oh, the world's out there to get me. That's not true. They're just preoccupied with fears, preoccupied with heals, and often there's a tremendous amount of unhealed traumas. They may not be aware what happened when they were a child 4, 5, 6 years ago. Maybe there was sexual abuse. The problem is all this trauma stays and lingers and pops up later on in life. That's why there's a lot of adults walking around unhealed. I've done a lot of different conversations on fear. I've done 2 different videos on fear, one recently and one in 2021. Those who are in fear are in constant pain and constant turmoil and constant disconnection from their soul. They think they're living hell on earth in a way. This is not a coincidence. The parasitic attachments that are bothering these humans with their consciousness literally sitting right on their shoulder, like a bird would sit on a shoulder. That is the parasite sitting on the human shoulder in an energetic format, on top of a human, physical human walking down the street, going to work, going to the gym, coming home to wife and kids, girlfriend, boyfriends, and they constantly have these fears. Their chakra systems are filled with resistances, filled with blockages. Third eyes are filled with blacknesses. Unhealed humans. This is why I often, very, very often promote and say for humans to not be scared of reptilians, but gravitate and embrace that dark, powerful energy. Practice both light and dark. Practice duality. They stand for strength. They stand for mental power. The mental power they hold is immense. It's the strongest in this galaxy. There is no stronger power in the galaxy than the Alpha Draconian Empire. The world we live in here, like I said, it's not meant for niceness, to just hug trees all day long, thinking a love will solve all the problems in life. No, love is important, of course. Absolutely. Compassion too, but so is strength. These parasites are like leeches. These parasites are like just cancer. It just spreads, gets into places. You don't even know how they got in there. There's many different leeches in this galaxy, particularly our solar system. That's why we have holograms around, not to see what's happening in the fourth density. And this resident thing, we're just tenants and resident on this earth, in this reality, in this prison planet, surrounded by both benevolent, neutral, and malevolent type of beings who really don't play with us too well. They just kind of keep it to themselves. But humans must understand that it is extremely easy to attract some of these parasites by opening up yourself spiritually, by creating fears and falsehoods in your own mind that's not true, by trusting and worshiping some external saviors. This is how they get in. And most people in the industry I see, they're not aware that these beings or even exist because you're not perceiving them in the fourth density state due to the blacknesses on your third eye. And why do you always see them as the gray shadows? Two things. First of all, due to the overwhelming amount of blackness on the third eye. And also two, because humans only perceive that part of themselves that's addicted to the fear. And that color is what? Color that is void of light. That's dark. That's why all the entities appear dark. That's its effect. They're all dark for a reason. They're never going to be orange. They're never going to be green. They're dark. So look within you. What else is dark in there you haven't fixed? What issues have you not fixed? These things must be solved instantly, internally. Not blaming reptilians, not blaming draconians or random ETs, not blaming your governments, not blaming other humans, not blaming doctors who gave you, let's say, a wrong pill. No. Internal work is number one work before you want to connect to any ET. Absolutely. This is why, like I said, when I teach a channeling course, I vet the person first. I talk to this person first. I want to make sure they know what they're getting themselves into. That's why it's 2 months long. Sometimes it drags into 3 months. But it's fine. These humans succeed. And they're not interrupted. They're not hijacked. They're not interfered with because they know the safety protocols. A lengthy, patient, and efficient process must be followed to become a successful trance channeler, because you're allowing a consciousness in your body. So instead of being addicted to 5D ascension, perhaps perfect 3D grounding. And then get into the studies of the 4D. Start perfecting that. You can't just skip 4D and go right to 5D. Foolish. And people that do that are fools. People that teach that, 5D coaches, professional fools who figured out a system how to manipulate humans. Meditations is the same way. Grounding, neutralization, intent, clearing of resistances, chakras, soul layer integration, all these things must be done. Just because you're meditating in nature doesn't mean you're protected. Soul connection is number one. Your soul is you and you are soul. My soul is me and I am my soul. We are the greatest team. My soul knows me better than any other physical being in the universe. Better than any of the counterparts I have. So number one connection should be the soul. Not some temptation you see on the internet, some ascension. The industry is filled with temptations, isn't it? I mean, I personally would love to hear everyone's opinion on this matter in the comment section. Whatever the comments are, it's always wonderful to engage with people that agree and disagree. Or they're somewhere in the middle, but tremendous amount of hijackings and interferences are definitely happening in the industry. And it saddens me in a way. I mean, I don't cry over it at night, I don't lose sleep, but I'm a neutral about it. If I can help, I'll help, but otherwise, hey, sink or swim. But as as I said before, the last thing, in conclusion in this particular video is, if anyone wishes to connect, channel, meditate, always incorporate your soul. Your soul sits on top of everything else, and the soul should be number one spot of importance. Number one, most biggest spot, top spot in that hierarchy of importance things or important values or things to assess. Soul must come as number one. No one knows you better than your soul. No one loves you more than your soul.